So let's check out the trivia for the Weapons film. The first one is Netflix was ready to pay more money upfront than New Line, but an absurd theatrical release and New Line's track record with horror were the better selling points. To further capitalize on the themes of the movie, theaters listed showtimes at 2:17, the same time the children in the film vanish. That's really interesting. They should have, like, I don't know if people would bring their kids to this movie, but they could give a card to all the kids, and then at a certain time in the movie, all the kids run out of the theater. Might be a little weird, but that'd be kind of funny. This one says, Zach Cregger revealed through an interview with Associated Press that certain scenes that he thought of as so funny were to be cut if the jokes in question didn't elicit laughs from test audiences. If the humor is coming from an authentic reaction that the character's having, then it works. Cregger said, there's a lot of jokes that didn't make it into the movie that I thought were going to be so funny. And then we did a test screening and nobody laughed, and I'm like, okay, it's gotta go. That is so weird. We'll probably see all the deleted scenes and what they cut at some point. Apparently the ending was different too. They were going to have a team up fight of children or something with like Alex has a team and Gladys has her team. So like, they cut that. I wonder, it sounds like they cut a lot of stuff too. The next one is Deadline. Hollywood reported that New Line Cinema won the spec script in a bidding war against allegedly Universal, Netflix, and Sony/TriStar. The Hollywood Reporter detailed that parts of the deal were an 8-figure sum of money, a guaranteed green light of production, final cut privileges for Cregger, interest in a back-end plot, and most importantly, in closing the deal, the guarantee of a theatrical release. Insiders called it an unprecedented deal in modern times, and it was compared to M. Night Shyamalan's deals after The Sixth Sense. That is so cool. That's good for this guy. For the film's visual style, Zach Cregger was inspired by Denis Villeneuve, Prisoners, 2013, citing it as an influence. The cinematography of Prisoners is so gorgeous, Cregger told Letterboxd. He praised the washed-out, somber, cloudy, rainy look of the film. I really wanted to evoke everything visually that the movie invoked. Cregger continued, revealing that he and his DP, Larkin Sepul, would watch Prisoners constantly. It's very lived in, he said, vowing to capture the same sense of authenticity, especially in how Villeneuve and Deakins captured the messiness of the homes and general feeling of disorganization. Very interesting. Zach Cregger's screenplay reveals the inspiration was behind the way the kids went off into the night. Every child runs across the yard with the same curious posture, body erect, arms outstretched in a downward V like somebody holding heavy bags. They run like the naked Vietnamese girl covered in napalm from that iconic photo. The photo is the award-winning war image, The Terror of War, also known as Napalm Girl. Taken in Vietnam in 1972, it shows a 9-year-old girl running from her village after it was mistakenly hit in a strike. The photo became one of the most striking from the Vietnam War and is remembered for how hauntingly it shows innocent victims of war. That is crazy. According to Time Out, on the busiest days of filming, the production would be home to more than 170 children. Child labor coordinators were enlisted to keep the kids engaged when not filming. Wow. 100. That must have been the class. Yeah, that's probably the classroom scenes, right? All the background stuff. This one says, Zach Cregger explained why David Fincher was thanked in the movie's credits. Cregger explained that Fincher was extremely helpful to him throughout the process, giving the newer director really constructive thoughts and making himself very available during the post-process. Cregger specified that Fincher was especially helpful in helping him arrive at the best take. Setting these high sights involved post-production techniques, including ADR, and also helping hone his understanding of what lenses to use. Cregger added, he's just a very helpful guy. He was available to me during prep, and then he was very available during the post-process. He watched the movie and had a lot of really constructive thoughts and gave me a ton of ideas. He helped me learn more about the editing process and how to think about it in a new way that wasn't available to me when I was making Barbarian. So he just opened my mind up a lot. There are things I thought I just had to settle for. I thought, well, that's the take I have. That's the best take, and it's not perfect, but God, nothing is. David's attitude is, it can always be better, and there's a lot of tools that you have at your disposal that you might not be thinking about. So, from reframing to stabilization to ADR to all sorts of things, it was really cool. Honestly, I learned a lot about how to prep, what lenses to use. I shot this mostly anamorphic, and I didn't quite respect how limiting anamorphic is in the post-process, so stuff like that, technical stuff. That's really awesome. I wonder his next film is going to be pretty crazy then, if he's learned all of this stuff. Director Zach Cregger cites Magnolia as inspiration for the film, with him looking to make weapons an unapologetic epic in the vein of that film. I love that movie. I love that kind of bold scale. It gave me permission when I was writing to shoot for the stars and make it an epic. I wanted a horror epic, so I tried to do that. Pretty cool. At several points in the film, the same scene is seen from different characters' perspectives, showing slightly different details as a way of showing how characters sometimes see the same moment differently. I did not catch that. An example of this is the bar scene between Justine and Paul. While she sees the moment as Paul coming straight to the bar and joining her, he sees the same moment with her standing up from the bar and walking to him as soon as he steps through the door. Additionally, Justine recalls the two exchanging a quick hug in the bar, whereas Paul remembers the hug as a long embrace. Wow, that is so... Well, that is really like crazy attention to that type of detail. Just like with Barbarian, Zach Cregger claimed that he came up with the premise first and worked out the rest of the plot later. I didn't have an outline. I didn't know what it was about. It was just like, let the movie show itself to me. I want to watch the movie as I'm writing it. Production designer Tom Hammock was instructed to create a small new eastern town. For inspiration, Hammock studied the communities outside cities like Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Zach wanted everything to appear as normal as possible. He wanted the audience to buy into this town as being the most normal place in the world. That's cool. According to Deadline, Universal Pictures was the only other studio aside from New Line to have gotten close to getting the deal. Jordan Peele would have produced through his Monkey Paw studio with Universal, but the offer made by them was $7 million less than New Line's proposal. Peele was supposedly ready to provide that amount of money out of his contractual back end, but Universal were uneasy about the budget as a business proposition and walked away. Peele and Cregger shared the same manager, Peter Principato, which might have caused a conflict of interest. Peele later parted ways with his management, Artists First. Wow. He's like, Jordan Peele was actually angry about this. And what do you think he would have to direct it? So Zach Cregger would have gotten a writing credit while Jordan Peele gets a director's credit. I think for Zach Cregger, that is so much better. I think it's also from the company's point of view, they get to deal with one person rather than two people. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Amy Madigan reflected on her approach to her character and Gladys' motivations. Despite admitting that her character is the bad guy in the movie, Madigan defends her villain character, stating that she's a very misunderstood woman. Furthermore, she adds, the role just spoke to me. I think she's a very misunderstood woman. For lack of a better term, I am the bad guy in the movie, but a girl's just doing what she has to do to get through. She has a plan, but I don't think she quite knew how that was going to unfold. She's like an artist. She's very extemporaneous. I think she's moved around a lot. She's had to go to different places, and when one's not working, she's kind of a creator of invention. Okay, I'm going to have to reach out to this family. She's really needy in the sense that she needs all these people. She can't do it on her own, and I found that really intriguing about her. She manipulated a few people, and I understand that, but she has such confidence. She's charming in this really sick way. She just makes me sit up, Gladys. She just spoke to me. That's really interesting. Yeah, I never saw this. I don't know this Amy Madigan. I don't know. I never seen her before. It's cool that she played this old witch character. The gas station scenes were filmed over the course of 3 days at a BP gas station and convenience store in Covington, Georgia. That is so cool. I really like those scenes. They felt very real. I like that. Like you're there at a store. Almost like a documentary in a way. The washed out light on Gladys' face when she appears in Archer's nightmare is because of a phone light accidentally getting shown into Amy Madigan's face during the complex process of swapping out the child actor for her off camera. with everyone immediately loving how much it added to the jump scare effect. Wow, that's really a complicated face swap. Variety estimated that Warner Bros. Made $65 million off this film. The budget was $38 million. Gross worldwide, it made $263 million. They made $65 million. Wow. Weapons is actually that successful? $38 million. And it made $263 million? Wow. Zach Kreger is going to get a lot of work if he's able to do that. Robert Rodriguez says the same thing. When Justine is hunting for Marcus inside the gas station, a sign near the Richard says the lottery is at $666 million. Wow. Okay, so these are some spoilers. This one's kind of interesting. Zach Kreger revealed that he told Amy Madigan she could pick between two different options for Gladys' backstory. He said, I was like, you can pick one of these. Option 1, Gladys was just a normal person using dark magic to cure her disease. She had to adopt this mythology that she uses out of a place of emergency to keep herself alive. I won't say any more than that. Option 2, Gladys was a non-human creature who was using her bizarre makeup and a wig in a poor attempt to mimic humans. That's an interesting way to think about it. I like that a lot. I don't know. I mean, the first one makes sense. That one scene, she's obviously like sick and dying or something. So, and then she tells Alex that she needs the kids to lure them there. I like the first one more. A non-human creature who was using her bizarre makeup and a wig in a poor attempt to mimic humans? I don't know about that. Maybe that's possible. There wasn't much. Maybe you know what they could have done was do a flash of her hand looking like a creature hand, like Alex is seeing her true form, maybe, or something. Austin Abrams did all of his own stunts in his fight scene with Josh Brolin at the end. That's really cool. So he was getting thrown around? Really? Oh, wow. Archer has a nightmare involving Matthew and a strange, large, floating assault rifle hovering in the sky over their house. Interestingly, there was a poster of Alert's assault rifle in Matthew's room on the wall directly across from his bed where Archer is sleeping, perhaps partially contributing to Archer seeing this in the dream. I'm sure, yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe, yeah, rather than it being like, weapons, 217, the kids go away, here's the image in the dream. There's actually a reason why he's seeing it in the dream is because it's in real life, in the room. So that's good. In the original screenplay, the story ends with Archer hugging his son and not noticing he is catatonic, and the implication is he will never recover. The ending of the finished film is a bit more hopeful with an epilogue mentioning how after a couple of years, some of the children are starting to talk again, implying and eventually the rest will fully recover in time. That's good. I hope I don't do a sequel. We don't need that. The opening narration that lays out the premise of the film says that all of the children who disappeared never came back. Sure enough, they're physically found throughout the film and ultimately rescued from Gladys, controlled by the end and get their revenge on the witch. But the horrible experience and the things they've been forced to do means that all of them are left catatonic. The film would originally end with just a shot of Archer living with his mute son, but Tess' audience hated it because it was too abrupt and lacked closure. The closing narration was added, specifying that it took a few years for some of the children to start speaking again, but the poor innocent children that left the houses never fully returned home as they once were. Wow, so people didn't like it. That's good. So they added that, and that, okay, well, I guess. So they didn't like it. Huh. Yeah, it was too it was maybe too down. Like, and the movie wasn't really, I don't know. Some people died. So I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't know. This, that's good that they added this, though. Definitely changed the feeling, though, for sure. The reason why Archer returns to his normal self after Gladys' death and the other victims under her spell, Alex's parents and the missing children do not, could be that Gladys was draining the life force out of the latter group, whereas she was just weaponizing Archer. Okay. Here's the body count. 5. 4 men and 1 woman. Interesting. 2 in the class survive, Justine and Alex, and 17 go missing. As per the time of the disappearance, 2:17. It's got a lot of clever kind of things that kind of make this work together, like in a coherent form. And this one's pretty hilarious. This is what I was saying. But soon, every actor is going to have played a superhero. Benedict Wong, Josh Brolin, Julie Garner, Thanos, the Silver Surfer, Wong. Isn't this weird? Then Thanos. Brolin has played Thanos and Cable, and he played someone else. But isn't that wild? And now for goofs in this film. I guess there's a few, which is not surprising. I guess not every movie's perfect, but I mean, they should be striving to have a perfect script with no issues. Continuity. In one POV, the homeless man is in the back of the officer's car until dark, until the point when the officer, who is clearly possessed, charges the car and drags him in the house. Yet, in another POV, Alex comes home from school during the day, notices the cruiser, and then sees the homeless man possessed inside his house. Alex would have noticed the cruiser when leaving for school in the morning, or the homeless man would still be inside the cruiser. Yeah, what? That's weird. Yeah, he was in the house when when they go in there, right? When he goes in. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know about that. That's very strange. One POV, the homeless man is in the back of the officer's car until dark. Huh. Yeah, he would have been there when Alex comes home from school. Or when he leaves. Yeah, that's weird. Wow, that's bizarre. In the film, they said that the day the kids disappeared on was May 5th, 2025 on a Wednesday, but in reality, that day fell on a Monday. Well, that's just writing and assuming. I don't know if that's really an issue, but the kids disappear in May, but the main story takes place in early to mid-June, yet the kids are still in school in Pennsylvania. This would be around the time school ends. Okay. Yeah, maybe if it really had to do with like these students in school and stuff, maybe learning about school and whatever, that would have helped. Maybe Zach or this Kreger guy doesn't have any kids, so he doesn't know that or didn't think about that. Factual errors. The film is set in Pennsylvania, where liquor can only be purchased in state stores. You can also buy wine in the state stores, but beer is purchased at packaged goods stores, bars, or some supermarkets. Nowhere in Pennsylvania can you buy liquor and beer at the same time. Okay. Maybe it's also good to look up state laws of where your story is going to take place at. Like, especially, like, when you do time movies, like a movie that's in the 50s or the 40s, you can't have slang. You can't have things that we say now. And a lot of writers, like, slip a word in that wasn't used or invented at the time. Miss Gandy's third grade class is studying whales as seen on the board in the back of the classroom. The board spells a toothed whale Parvorder odontoceti incorrectly as odontoceti. Okay, well, what the real issue is that nowadays, there's always been, like, people who do deep analysis on these things, and you can get the 4K movies of things, so you can look in the background and see what's there. So, like, writers nowadays need to take into account that is a possibility. If you put something in the back, someone's going to fact check it. It's just how it is, like, someone's going to notice something that you don't, and vice versa. Spoilers for this next one. Many times over, 17 children go missing, but the classroom has 4x4 desks. That could have easily just been 216. Maybe there's a chair in the corner. Oh, maybe a chair by the teacher's desk. So one kid gets to be like the teacher's assistant for the day, or something like that. Come on. 17 children go missing, but there's 16 desks in there. I don't know what to say. The next one is, at one time the class even comes back apparently, and nobody pays any mind because Justine is not teaching them. That's a weird sentence. Miscellaneous. When the mother cuts the teacher's hair, she cuts off a lock about 4 to 5 inches, even though Justine's hair is way too short to produce such an amount. These are nitpicking, but again, it's just like, For me, as a writer, my goal would be to have no issues, just trivia. Just the writer was going to do this and change the ending or whatever, and that's it. Like, come on. Like in 28 weeks later, or 28 years later, there's an issue with the gas in the gas station. The gas that's in there would be heavy and not floating. Like, it's just things like that you could have a scientist read the script and be like, hey, this is wrong, that's wrong, fix this, fix that. Errors in geography. In the finale, when Aunt Gladys is running, she passes a set of tall palm trees which do not grow in Pennsylvania. There are also shots of tropical bushes in front of some of the homes which would not survive the harsh winters. You could even have Grok and ChatGPT read your script if you really wanted to, or anything like that, and have it be like, hey, why is she's running past a palm tree, and palm trees don't grow in Pennsylvania. Something like that. And then there's no bushes that could grow because of the harsh winters. Now here we get to some real plot holes, so we'll see if these actually make sense. Amidst a major criminal investigation regarding an entire class of children that went missing, except for one child, which even involves federal law enforcement agencies, nobody ever pays attention whatsoever to the fact that the remaining child's story that his father recently had a stroke is not backed up by any medical records in any hospital, clinic, or emergency services, nor does anybody working for any of those law enforcement agencies supposedly investigating the case ever attempt to secretly monitor the remaining child's home in case he might get abducted as well. Yeah, right? You would either go to the kid's house and save him, or you could use him as bait and lure this person there, or whatever. Next one is, if the FBI were involved in the investigation, there's no way any halfway competent investigation wouldn't consider the possibility that the children were meeting up. They would have attempted to identify which direction the children appeared to be running in, and they could have reconstructed a reasonable destination using the now ubiquitous door cam footage. Yeah, the stuff Archer was doing, I'm pretty sure that the investigators would be doing that. With 17 kids and 2 adults being fed, think of the stench of excrement. It sure didn't look like there were any bathrooms in that basement. No scenes of Alex giving care except for feeding. They were all filthy. Yeah, they're all gonna die at some point. And then they're gonna... I don't think Gladys really planned for any of that. I don't think she knew what was gonna go on. She just really improv the whole thing. If such an event had actually occurred, local, national, and international news teams and their transmission vans would have swarmed everyone and everything related to the event. They would have camped out on every home of every child, missing or not. No one involved would have been spared the gauntlet of the press. Okay, maybe. If Aunt Gladys had a lock of Justine's hair, why didn't she just hypnotize her into drowning herself or being ran over by a car? She can conjure children without physical contact, so distance isn't a problem. The same can be said about Marcus. There is no logical reason to go to his house to risk being seen, much less murder his companion. Yeah, her things are, again, it's the writing, you know? She wouldn't have done that. The writer did. Next one is, virtually no silverware in the U.S. are actually made of silver, and there's no indication that the family has the kind of generational wealth that would lead them to having a genuine silver set. The cutlery that the junkie stole would have been made of stainless steel at best. As such, it would be virtually worthless. Even if it were made of actual silver, the pawn shop owner would have no way to verify its purity or value. I don't know. I mean, that's why, if you set your movie in another world where things are weird, there's no goofs. Everything is logically okay, in that world, fine. But you set that up. Hey, this world is different. Everything's different and weird. There's a continuity error or a plot hole or whatever. It's because it's in a different world. Spoilers for the next few. No one at the grocery store found it suspicious that Alex was suddenly buying 17 and 20 cans of soup regularly by himself, especially right after his entire class goes missing. Maybe it's common there for kids to go to the store and shop for their own groceries? I don't know. The frozen people, Alex's parents, then the kids, supposedly still require food. And yet if their bodies are consuming food, then the bodies are also eliminating it. Nothing about the way their bodies work or the design of the basement says that they are zombies shuffling their way to the bathroom, which means that they have to be wearing stinky underwear for weeks at a time. But Alex has never seen her reacting to the smell. I mean, maybe Gladys is go to the bathroom, and then snaps a twig. But all the time, that's like multiple times a day. He's like, get me coffee. Wait, this is the wrong coffee. Do it again. And, okay, now bring it to me. No, it's not that specific, but that could be a solution that she does. It's incongruous that during a major criminal investigation where 17 children ran away from home, police later missed that the only one coming in and out of Alex's home is a child who does all the grocery shopping. See, that's why I think like there, in that place, it's normal for this kind of behavior. Also, after the final events of the film, Alex's parents, as sick as they might be, will most likely be accused of being the abductor since the 17 children were found near their home, along with the murdered bodies of a police officer and a random junkie. Neither the characters of Justine or Archer, the film's leads, Neither the characters of Justine or Archer know at all about Gladys, the real perpetrator, so they might back up this version of the events. Yeah, they don't really. Oh, well, they could probably put it together with the Ring doorbell camera, I think. These are interesting, though. But that's all the goofs and the trivia and all that. Some interesting stuff, though, for sure.